The Education Freedom Act would allow third-party accreditation and flexibility in assessments for accountability. There are currently 28 states and the District of Columbia that allow third-party accreditation, something that we have in place for private schools, higher ed, virtual schools, and parochial schools. Third-party accreditation will provide mentorship to schools to reach individual performance benchmarks and goals tailored to those local gaps through peer review and best practices, something that schools don't currently have. This bill will also allow for flexibility in their assessments. A few years ago, schools across the state began to band together to petition the Department of Education for flexibility waivers from the antiquated testing model and to allow them to respond to the needs of the students rather than having every resource directed to a performance on one test, the MAP test, a test that our state has uniquely decided to tie to accreditation and funding. Let me reiterate. Even the Federal Department of Ed does not require a statewide test to be tied to accreditation. This test, the MAP test, is a test that the state does not own. The test is proprietary, copyrighted, and nobody gets to see. A test that is computer adaptive, so not every test is the same, and a test that no one knows how it is graded or scored for accountability. Several of our schools have been granted the flexibility waiver within the state. Schools use internal assessments continually for informed teaching practices and for their own accountability, yet none of these tests are allowed to be forward-facing as part of their accountability. This is where the true concrete data lies on each student. Schools should be able to use these tests or performance indicators for accountability. It shows real-time what is happening in the classroom. This model of inflexibility has impacted public education and charters. This legislation is more aligned with other states. The idea of true transparency and accountability and creates an equalizer where you are able to compare performance equitably. At this time, I again want to thank you for helping with this legislation, and the nearly 900,000 kids in public charters and public schools will thank you also.